Hey, Renee.
Hi, Annette.
Today we're going to talk perfectionism.
Oh, that word.
I'm glad you had the same response kind of I had when praying about what the subject would be today. But I've seen it lately quite a bit, even in my own life. And
Yeah.
because of that, I wanted to bring up the subject. And it's not so much the OCPD, which is that obsessive compulsive personality disorder, or the OCD, which is the obsessive compulsive disorder.
Put
Okay.
everything in order. Yeah.
Yes. So there's different ways of looking at it. But acting in such a way that, well, let's just say I hit my hand right now really hard. Let's say I hit my thumb right now talking to you, but I act like everything's fine and I'm smiling at you, that type of thing. Why am I just going, whoa, I just hurt my thumb? Well, I guess I'm just trying to give the presence or the look of everything is fine. And I do understand at times that we want to go ahead and do a presentation that everything is fine and you don't want to be something wrong to be the distraction of it. But at the sake of other people, it really needs to be looked at. And I'm talking about things like when I was a young mother, trying to get out the door sometimes was a challenge, or even being in the car. And then somebody said they're looking at me, and the other one said he looked first, or he's touching me, or he's sitting too close to me. Any of that sound familiar?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
To the
yeah.
point where it seems like everybody's unhappy in the car, and I'm just trying to get to a park day group. To the point where all of a sudden, everybody stop touching each other. Everybody put your hands together. Stop it. And I'm starting to get angry. Can you feel the rise in the temperature?
Mothers never get angry from that. Come on, Annette.
And all of a sudden,
I'm kidding.
I turn around. Okay, that's it, because somebody won't stop in the back seat, and you could see it in the rearview mirror. They're just egging it on. So they pull the car over to the side. Okay, after we get home, you're going to have to do this chore, or you're grounded from this. And then get on back on the road. You land at the park. Hi, everybody. How you doing? And the kids all run and they're all playing and everything. What just happened to the car back?
Oh, yeah. Chaos.
I
World
think I
War
had a hit
IV.
and run in the car with my emotions and all that just happened. And I'm acting like everything's fine. And the kids are walking out of the car with these grumpy faces because half of them are grounded.
Oh, darn.
And they know something just happened to the car. Yet I'm happy and delighted to see you, Renee. It's been so long. And I know they're thinking, this is fake.
Yeah. Jekyll, Hyde, Momma.
That's it. Jekyll, Hyde, Momma. That's a
Not
good
say that's
way.
what you were, but to the kids, it
Yes,
would look
it
that
was.
way.
It truly was. And we've seen that continually through our lives to other people. And we laugh because we think it's funny type thing. And now I can laugh now about it.
Yeah.
However, those actions compound with other actions, even to the point of the way I had my house and trying to keep it clean. There's a difference between perfection and clean, if that makes sense, and organized.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the different temperaments. If you're talking about the DISC, the DISC, the C is more of that perfectionist. That's a good temperament towards it that will lean heavily into perfection. But what about the rest of us that struggle with trying to give this appearance of perfection? And yet our kids are like,
they're not in the program. They didn't get the memo.
They didn't get the memo.
They read it and threw it away. It's still laying on their floor.
The first child probably is the one that you try to keep it that way. I feel bad for our daughter, our oldest daughter, because she had to live through trying to have the nice outfit on and try to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get there. She looks good. By the second time, the second kid, that type of thing, you start releasing some things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kids are going to mess up their clothes. You take extra clothes, and yet they've worked through their fourth outfit because of bathroom issues. And you're thinking, I've prepared for only 4 outfits. And you know you're not going to make it to the 5th one because you don't got one. And your kid is running around with a diaper.
Right.
And you always thought, I'm never going to have my kid be that kid.
Yep.
That runs around with just a diaper on.
Yep. I think you're so accurate in the description of just the parenting, because I remember, like, I will never take my child into the store with just a diaper on, and have him sitting in a cart, a stroller. But yet I remember my second one taking him for pictures and had the blowout at Walmart. And I was like, well, and I don't think I didn't have extra clothes because I only had him wearing what he needed for the pictures that day. And I was embarrassed, but I was like, I don't care. Kid's still getting his pictures. I don't care if he doesn't have anything on his legs. We're changing his diaper. He's going to sit in the stroller, the cart, without clothes from his waist down, except a diaper. I just wrapped him in a coat. I was like, I had an attitude, but I would have never done that with my first one. I don't think. I would have been a lot more, people can't see me mess up like this. People can't see me pushing my kid around like this. But by this point, I'm like, I'm here for pictures. It's going to get done, even if from here down isn't cooperating,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And that wasn't the only time that we were, going around in the store without clothes from the bottom half, just a diaper because of a blowout or because of something, something spilling on them or whatever. I'm like, strip it off. I don't care if people see their knees, whatever.
Now, it's easy for us to identify that story, especially with children.
Yeah.
But what about times that we who have been hurt, something else happens where things aren't going well?
Yeah.
And yet a mistake has been made, but we don't even want to pay attention to the mistake. And we act like all is still well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pushing it aside so we can control the situation and just ignore a mistake that's been made. Or we get upset because we were supposed to make these goals. And then when it's brought forward to us, the goal wasn't met. And so this perfection isn't there. And so we're so afraid of being marked with the F word, failure, that we act like it's fine. Oh, I really didn't set that goal that high. Or I was just setting it out there, but inside, why can't we just admit, you know what? It didn't work out, Renee. Yeah. It truly didn't work out. I thought it was going to work out. I thought we were going to be able to come to your house and do all of that day. Bottom line, I didn't plan well. I'm sorry. And just let it go.
Yeah. And sometimes it's easier to avoid, a denial, an avoidance, hoping it just works itself out, versus paying attention to some things and taking responsibility of them.
That makes sense.
To
me, those who I find that work through the extreme levels of these high standards at times, not just for their family, but for themselves. And then the disappointment is just so excruciatingly painful for them, is because as trauma victims, somehow reaching that perfection, they thought they could be loved more, liked more. And so not reaching that perfection and not having things in order, even if it was the simplest thing, if our boss all of a sudden came to us and said, hey, do you got that sheet on whatever it is? And it should be in that file drawer. And when you can't find it, you're wondering.
Yeah.
And
why wasn't I more organized in the beginning? Yeah.
You start beating yourself up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you find the paper and you think, that's great, because, and then they say, you're so organized. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. And you're going, this is what I live for. And that's not correct as well. Yeah. It's nice to be appreciated, of course, Renee, but not to the point of everything is writing on that for approval.
It sounds stressful.
Very stressful, because perfection leads to anxiety. It's one of those big anxiety buttons.
Yeah.
And included in that is, I'm not good enough.
Yeah. You know, an example of that, what has been coming to mind is you're just now talking about this piece, that perfection. It could even happen with just, what am I going to wear somewhere? You know, many will go through an anxiety mode when they're just getting ready to go somewhere, to see friends, see family, go to work, whatever. Finding the right outfit can be so anxiety driven for that person that wants it to be perfect. An example would be, I didn't have that this weekend, but this weekend I was meeting new family members.
Oh, and in the back of my,
you know, in the back of my head, it would be nice to have something new to wear, you know, to look more presentable. And all that kept going through my head in the week was, find a cute hat instead of wearing your, you know, I wear baseball hats a lot. And so through my head, it was, you need to find a cuter hat. You know, you don't want your first impression to be, you know, cowgirl in a baseball hat, you know, with your t-shirt or your swimsuit, whatever. And that just kind of kept haunting a little bit. Not a bad haunting, but it kept creeping up, like, go get something new so you can look a little bit more shinier and put together for the people you're meeting. And I know other people can relate to that who might deal with perfection or deal with anxiety. Is just the getting ready and to go somewhere. And I have friends who it's to the point of the perfection is such a high anxiety that they then not go places because
just too much.
It what's the word? It debilitates them.
Yes.
It debilitates them. It turns them to sobs and they can't move forward with just what's in the closet. And it's more than just what's in the closet. That's the issue. It just, you know, you just want to be accepted and don't think that what you've chosen is going to be acceptable. There's something that's playing in there.
When I was thinking of perfectionism and being the mom and making sure my kids looked good and the other, what was that based on? And immediately I thought, you know, my mom did that. Before we all headed out, that type of thing. And she made sure to check that we were all going to have clothes that were clean and pressed, especially going for church or a wedding, some sort of event. So she needed to make sure that we fit in our shoes still, because she knew if we hadn't got dressed up in our dress shoes for at least 2 weeks, somebody could have grown out of their shoes.
That makes sense. Yep.
Because I came from a large family. So definitely it was constantly, you put something on and then you show up and your mom looks at, no, this is a fancier event. You need to go back and change again. And so it'd be, okay, how about this? You know, it was a frustration. I thought I was getting dressed right, but all of that I passed on to my own children. I am guilty of that. I am guilty of that whole thing where we show up and it's a whole different picture than it was in the car 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's a whole different picture. And that Jekyll Hyde, I hated it. Yet I was passing it right on because that's what I learned. And maybe my parents learned the same thing from their parents. I don't know. But I know that's what we had. And I know now when I see it in my grandchildren or I see it in another mom or somebody else who's struggling with it, I encourage them to let it go, because I even have to constantly let it go these days when I'm heading out. when I'm heading out, and I turn around and I look at my husband, I'm going, and I know it's right there on my lips. It's, you're going to wear that shirt? And I'm struggling over the words, and I'll go, oh, okay, so you're ready to go. And he already knows because he heard it for years. Oh, you're going to wear that shirt.
He knows your
So
tone.
I'm holding back saying those words and go, okay, so you're ready to go. And it's just something between us now that we just laugh, because you know what? My husband's a grown man and he can pick his own clothes. And if he chooses to wear that, he should be able to wear that. Let it go. But he does appreciate if he still has his slippers on and he's heading to the car. He's done that only, I think, twice. And I've said something, he goes, no, I do appreciate it. Because we're all of a sudden rushing out of the house and he's got his slippers on. And slippers today for men, a lot of them they feel like a shoe. So anyway.
Oh yeah, you're sliding on.
So I guess my encouragement to others is you can break these habits.
Yeah.
That I believe are passed on from one generation to the next, of pushing your perfection to control the world, to protect your children. A lot of times the perfection is there so you can not only control the world, but also feel this need of feeling protection in there. And that's not always necessary. You really need to figure out where it's coming from, that you feel like you need to control what's happening at that moment, being passed down from one family to the next generation type thing.
Well, sometimes it's not just your family generational. Sometimes it's
it could be at work.
Yeah, I was going to say it's even I'm not saying this in a negative form towards the church, but going to church for me growing up, and then even as an adult until we became missionaries, it was, you played a part, you had to look a part. And as my girlfriend called it, you had to play the fine face. Everything's fine. I'm fine. We're fine. Showing up and your kids are fine. And you're not sharing what real is going on in your life. And you're not sharing what you're trying to what you're struggling with, And
Absolutely.
So it is a perfection face that you're putting on, and a perfection mask. And I was getting really tired of that. Going to church where you should be able to unleash, unload, share, carry together. I wasn't finding that in some of my groups I was participating with.
You should be okay saying, today's been a rough day.
Yeah. And you can even use words other than rough, crappy, whatever. Being able to just be authentic. And it was that way even in business as well, a business that I was part of at one time. And then when things were hard, I just couldn't go and tell somebody, hey, it's really hard to meet the goals this month. Hey, it's really hard to keep up the status, because you had to make certain dollars every month, to keep your team a certain size, in order to keep your car that you quote unquote earned because of what you made and what your team did. That was a lot of pressure and a lot of perfection I felt that I had to upkeep.
And I played,
and I played that game for quite a while until finally, I'll be honest, God hit me over the head. I was idolizing that. I was idolizing perfection. And it was hurting me, and it was hurting my family, and it was hurting those around me, to the point of even a friend saying, Renee, you were in a bubble. You were in a bubble. You were in your own world, in your own bubble, thinking everything revolved around that. And none of us were part of it. And they told me that after the fact, after I got out and busted the bubble and decided to be real again. But during those years, that was more of my time of trying to play perfection. So I wanted to do it right. I wanted to rise to the top. I wanted the American dream. You wanted to
achieve.
Yeah. And I wanted others to see and want the same thing. And, oh yeah. Thank God that he brought me to reality.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah.
And I got to meet you afterwards. So I got the fruit.
Yes.
I got the fruit of it.
So now you see it on my face more. I don't do the fine as much. It's harder to hide it.
Well, I have a few things that I put on a list to talk about ways to overcome being this perfectionist.
That's awesome.
And that is to allow mistakes. Allow yourself to make mistakes, allow others to make mistakes.
Yes.
Including breaking things. A lot of things could be replaced. Yes, some things are irreplaceable that get broken, but it's a thing.
Yeah. You know, my mom taught me that young.
Yeah.
Because you just said that about breaking. I remember always thinking that my mother would be angry if I ever broke something of hers, you know, just, it was that perfection thing again. But one time she had this beautiful perfume bottle on the sink, and I was washing my hands and accidentally knocked it over, and it was glass, busted all over in the sink. And I was scared to tell my mom, just because it was something very special to her. I always thought things were special. And when I told her, it's okay, it just blew my mind of who she was, blew my mind of her kindness of, oh, so Renee can break things and I'm not going to get in trouble for it.
It was a great moment.
It was a fabulous moment. Yes, it was a great learning moment for me.
Let's see. Make sure your goals are reasonable. So you talked about that job that you had or whatever. Maybe your goals weren't reasonable.
Yeah.
Make sure your goals are reasonable so you don't put this perfection pressure on yourself to reach it. And a lot of us like to put goals out. And I'm a goal person. And I could quickly put a goal in front of me, but I also have the temperament of adjusting that goal, if that makes sense. Some people do not. And so they got to meet that exact goal that they put in front of them. And it's important that you need to be flexible with goals. Otherwise, you're not even going to get halfway there.
But a lot of us aren't taught that we can be flexible. So thank you for teaching that.
Another one is write down your thoughts and examine them so that you can be aware of your tendencies. So let's say I'm trying to do something and I start criticizing myself. I need to write down that criticism so that this way I could change it more to a positive.
That makes sense.
You always mess up when you try to reach the goal to lose weight, Annette. How can I switch that around? That's important.
It's huge.
Because those negative thoughts sometimes just go by so fast, but that's one down, small little one. Then another one down, small little, that ends up being so big that it becomes this 100-pound weight. And you're wondering, why is it bothering me so much?
Yeah. And you think it's your truth.
And you think it's your truth. So if you can grab those, write them down. I like writing them down when I'm not ready to change them because they're honest and they're real to me, and I'm able to put them down. And then I can come back, whether it's the next day or within the next 30 minutes, and go, that was ugly. I wouldn't even say that to Renee. Right?
Yeah.
How could I tell Renee a statement that related to what it was? And that would be the way to do it. Be kind to yourself and others when you're pushing people to perfection, when you're just constantly feeling that they got to be at a certain place and like wear certain shirts. I used to always ask my husband, do you have another shirt you could possibly wear? Is that what you're going to wear? But always, eventually my husband would go, yeah, it's the shirt I'm going to wear. I'll go, okay. Is there a problem with it? So, yeah, I really had to let go more. Of course, if there's slippers or there's a big tear in the shirt. Do you know your shirt has a big tear in it? Yeah, I'm good with it. We're going fishing. I'll go, you're right.
Yeah.
Let it go. Be kind. Be kind. Would I want him looking at my clothes and going, is that what you're going to wear on our date? Every time? So yeah, look at your face. I wouldn't like it one bit. So why am I doing it to him?
Yeah.
Don't procrastinate and then put perfection on top of it.
Mm.
So for people who procrastinate and then all of a sudden at the last minute want to get their paper perfect and proofed and then start beating up themselves because of they want perfection, you're doing it to yourself when you're waiting so long to do it. It's like a setup for a beat up moment.
Yeah. They don't see it when that's going down though.
You don't see it when it's coming down. However, you can write it down and go, I did this. What, and again, at that moment for me, I wouldn't want to, I'll write it down and later I can come back, whether it's the next day or half a day later and go, I set myself up for this. Mm-hmm. And I can reasonably talk myself, do I see another one of these situations coming up again? I could think it through. But at that moment, at that height of, oh my gosh, I got to get it in within the next 30 minutes. It needs to get in. They need this email right away. And yet I had 2 weeks to work on it. And I need the grammar checked on it. Who am I going to be able to find to do this really quick for me? That's what I'm talking. In that moment, yeah. I don't want to discuss how I could change it for next time. Yeah. That's not the moment. Get it done. Yeah. That's not the moment. So I'll write it down on a Post-it note and I'll stick it up on my computer going, I needed, Annette, we're having a discussion about this. So yes, I make appointments with myself. We're going to discuss this. So this moment can be worked through so I don't have to face this again.
Yeah.
Social media. Boy, do we see moms comparing themselves on social media.
Yeah.
Or do we see people our age comparing? I could look on social media and all of a sudden see somebody, whether it's a magazine, TV, Facebook, Twitter, and I see somebody my age who's able to do 20 pull-ups and then be able to do backflips and the other one going, I can't do that anymore.
I can't even stand on my hands. We have a video of that. To this point, we'll say that. Yeah.
That could really get you down as well. And your perfectionism part of you will be going,
my body's not functioning that way. Yeah.
So real big caution on comparing yourself with others because you'll be the hardest judge on yourself usually.
That's true. True. And that's looks, that's success, that's where you're at in life. A lot of different ways of
ways.
Yeah. How easy to compare yourself.
Perfectionism, count the loss and evaluate for the next time around. You could have thought of all the different ways to get your kid there for a picture, Renee. But for some reason, you grabbed the wrong bag and you ended up at the store and you still only ended up with a jacket to wrap your kid up in.
Yeah. I had to buy clothes that day for him. Yeah.
I mean,
prepared.
Yeah, you could evaluate for the next time going, and prepare for it the best you can. And I know you do that even for meals when you're going somewhere and you pack your meals and you go through all this other stuff. But sometimes there's just different encounters that happen at restaurants for you and or heat. Because right now it's summer and if you didn't pack enough cold packs in your lunch, it could spoil on you real fast in a vehicle.
Yeah.
Matthew 11:28-30. I wanted to read that today. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Perfectionism doesn't give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, and I am gentle, humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Amen. Perfectionism doesn't give you light or easy.
What comes to mind is not only like you were talking about writing it down on a sticky note, but sometimes people just need another person to vent it off to just kind of rattle off, hey, I just kind of went through this and I know this, it just didn't settle right. I'm struggling here. It's just not settling right. It's kind of bugging me, but I'm not sure what it is, So having that, we talk about it in other messages, that trusted friend, finding somebody that you can trust to share, to open up with, that you don't have to be perfect with, and tell these things to, that they can help you kind of navigate the emotions, navigate the goals not being met, navigate all these different things that Annette, you were just talking about. Having a trusted friend to kind of say, oh yeah, I've seen it in this area. It's nice to have somebody help. And give you permission to not have to have it.
You don't have to carry the heavy burdens by yourself. Jesus says he'll help you carry it, but he also provides others in your life, if you look around, that could help you walk that journey by lifting you up.
And direct you to Christ as well in it when you're not sure how to take it to Christ. Yes, it says unleash, unload, let me carry your burden. But sometimes people don't even know how to do that. And sometimes you need a friend to help walk with you to the cross. And I'm not saying wait for that friend to go to the cross.
And even identify saying, Renee, is that really for you to carry?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had that before. Many times. When I've taken it to a friend and they're like, that's not what the word is implying to you. That's not what God's saying. That's not where you want to be heading. So
we expect a lot out of ourselves.
Yeah.
I think perfectionism pushes God out.
It does.
There's not a space for him. And we say no thank you to the grace that we desperately need, that he's given to us. We need to say, yes, God, we'll take your grace.
Yeah.
We know it's unmerited. We need it because we aren't enough, but we are when we're with him.
Mm-hmm. And when you go to him, well, what do you say, Lord? And he'll tell you. Like for me, it was, you don't need a new hat, Renee. It doesn't matter. Like, all right. And then I was settled. It took me some time.
That whole piece in there, that whole journey of getting to, you don't need that hat to complete you.
Right.
Was real.
Yeah.
Other people may think it's silly, but for those who truly are listening to this conversation and understand, you were meeting new family members that you'd never met before in a surrounding that you had never been into before as well. So there was so much new that you had not even experienced before. So everything was out of control and you were trying to present a solid picture of yourself.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And didn't need it. God,
yeah.
Yep. Met with God on that
all
one.
they got to do is find you on YouTube. You know how YouTube is real enough for anybody.
Yeah. You really see me real on here. Yeah.
Well, thanks for discussing it with me, Renee.
You're welcome. May it shed some light on others. It took me some time to realize I was trying to live in perfection. And it was more than just the kids. I could use the kids. I was going to say I could use the kids as the excuse, but there was still unsettledness in me that had to be worked out with God.
Amen.